Howdy. So this is job site number 15 or 14 for the year. It's going to be a backyard clean out, plus it's going to be fixing a gate. So let's take a walk around this job site real quick, and let's take a look at what all the homeowners asked us to knock out for them, because hydraulic help makes all the world of difference for anybody. So we've got a bunch of bushes and stumps. Leave the big tree, but take out these bushes. Use the excavator and comb through the earth. More bushes. I mean, as you can imagine, as you can see, that's a big tree limb in the back with a ton of vines on it. I've already done an enormous amount of work. We've got bushes all along the back side of the fence and going to the corner over there. We've got some more work to do. On the other side of that pergola, whatever you want to call it, there was a ginormous bush, not a holly tree bush, but something similar, and it's stacked up. And the rest we're just going to come and comb out and load up at least one dump trailer tonight. So should be interesting. So we're back on this project. I wanted you guys to tag along and kind of have the operator's view from the excavator. Good pull. Let's see if we can repeat that a few times. say is true. It's just like a video game. Alright, well, I think you guys get the idea. So let's go tackle this stump over here. Alright, so here's another thing that's really darn cool. I've got this Caterpillar 303.5 Next Gen, and it's got the stick steer. So I just hit one button, lift my blade, and move the joystick like a skid steer. I've got short legs, so the idea of footrests don't necessarily appeal to me. This thing might be coming out a little bit better and easier than I anticipated. But I've done this a couple times, so I might just be getting better at it. Now, one thing is I have the Fang rake, which I definitely recommend you go check out what it looks like. Leading edge attachments. I believe the gentleman's name is Randy. It's pretty much the only landscape rake out there that does not have any cross tines, and they claim that that makes all the difference in the world. And I haven't experienced anything else to really tell you whether or not that's accurate or not. Look at that! Look at that! Just straight going, straight right there. Just loosen it up. Use the blade. Now we're going to pluck this thing out. But it would really come in handy, and this is a 303.5, but I can tell you guys, I've used the Fang rake a couple times, and it's really been amazing here in the soil of the coastal areas on the East Coast. And oh, I gotta fix that. I just saw where I messed up some grass. Hold on, let me get out and fix that. It's gonna bug me. But getting back to the Fang rake, it really does well in the coastal area on the East Coast with all the root mats and tough things that can be to get out of the ground because it's not just roots that are more centrally located, if you will. That root mat is persistent because that's how these plants survive in the coastal areas with loose and sandy soil situations. They spread out because they can't really go deep. And it's just the natural tendency of a living organism to spread out if it can't find what it needs when it goes deep. Because as soon as it tries to go deep and hit the sand, it says, oh no, I don't like this. And it starts spreading out instead of going deeper. Is the only thing I can imagine. I am certainly no biologist by any means. But the Fang rake, what my experience has been is that this is a 303.5. Yeah, let's get that. Keep as much soil here as possible. The 303.5 with the Fang rake acts powerful enough and performs from a productivity standpoint of a 305. And my cat rep backed me up on that. All right, let's see if I can get good enough to toss this thing as far as manipulating goes. Yeah, that was pretty crappy. Anyway. Alright guys, let's clear out a little more over here to the left, and then I'm gonna cut it and start loading up the trailer, because you get the point. Thanks for hanging out with me. the project's over. Always a great thing. And I was able to follow my 3 rules. Don't break anything, don't damage anything, and get the project done. And when I say don't break or don't damage, those aren't the same things. Don't break anything means don't break my equipment. Don't damage anything means don't damage anything of the homeowners that wasn't supposed to be damaged to begin with. And as you can see, the fence line is clear, the yard is clean, and we're doing a wrap-up summary video. What I really am thankful as far as some decisions go along the way in my journey on this is that I have the Walker mower in my arsenal of tools. And the Walker's versatile for so many reasons. Leaf cleanups, regular yard maintenance, but for me, it shines as a over-built yard vacuum for construction projects like this. You can see that there's no branches, there's no leaves. It looks like there were elves that came in here and took care of the fence line, but never even once set foot in the yard. I also like having the tractor. You know, skid steers are wonderful, they do big work, but I'll tell you what, guys, tractors' versatility and the impact or lack of impact that they have on a yard, and the ability for the operator to determine how impactful or lack of impact that goes from wheel steering makes a huge difference. A skid steer would have torn this thing up. I tore it up plenty with the Mini X on the tracks. So I have to be real careful on that. But with a tractor, you can move quickly and you can make minimal impact. Now come walk with us as we go along this fence line to see exactly what was done when we come to easily and quickly plucking out bushes along the way that the homeowner just simply didn't want to do with by hand. As I said in the beginning, hydraulic help goes a long way. Now the purpose of the homeowner sanctioning or commissioning this project from us was they want simplicity. Guys, there are an enormous amount of features in this yard that were once upon a time, I'm sure, very aesthetic, very warm, very inviting, very enjoyable from sitting up on the porch, which is behind us. But, you know, those things require an enormous amount of maintenance. Now, that was the easy part over there as we walked in. This is where it got a little more complicated and where we really needed heavy machinery. There were some trees over here. I got them out with the stumps. And then these types of palms, I believe, the root mat, as you can see, goes very thick and deep enough to where there are some pockets in here. Now, I took the tractor yesterday and I did as best I could with rough grading by eyesight in order to fill in this stuff as best as possible so that it just wasn't sloped holes in the back. And it came out rather nicely. Now with the tractor, it does take a lot longer to eyeball and rough grade than it would a skid steer or a mini skid, where you're literally standing over or looking right at the bucket and you've got that hand-eye coordination. Whereas a tractor, you're leaning off to the right, you're leaning off to the left, your bucket is darn near 8 to 10 feet in front of you, and it just takes a lot longer. So that is the one thing that I will have to say is a downside to a tractor versus a skid steer. But that's almost the only thing I can come up with in comparison to everything else. Now, when I talk about the aesthetics of this backyard and the complexities of it and maintenance and what it takes, here's a great example. The homeowner before this homeowner, because this home was sold about a year ago, had me come over and dump some excess dirt in a pond, an artificial pond that was over here. So I had to level this out and take an enormous amount of time with rocks and all kinds of stuff that were built up around the pond. Here's a fun little thing that I had to worry about and avoid all throughout the process. These things are all over the place. That was probably to power the pump for the pond, but they're over there on that pergola up behind you that we're going to tear down later this week. And there are actually a few others right over here. Here's another one. I had to worry about all of this stuff while I'm operating back here. So we got this leveled out. It looks fantastic. And as you can see, and we'll spin around again, the yard looks great. Guys, this is gonna go back to me and my preferences of simplicity, because the thing about nice aesthetics and ornate stuff is that they require maintenance. So whether you pay somebody to do it or whether you have the diligence to do it, at some point that stuff's gonna fade out and these things degrade over time, which is a great example. I mean, the landscaping in this backyard at one point was phenomenal, but then it became a headache for the homeowner. That's where we come in. We keep things simplistic, we manage the vegetation, and we give the homeowner an ability to have a fresh start. I've even got this to the point to where we could bring in a couple pallets of sod and lay it down for the homeowner, and then all they have to do is mow, mow, and mow. And that sounds like heaven to a guy like me, to where all I have to do is worry about mowing. Yeah, I can handle that. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Leave some comments. You know, I could care less about subscriptions. Leave some comments. Interact with me. Talk to me. Let me talk back to you. Tell me what you thought. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you've experienced. This is by far going to be the longest video I've ever done, first time for everything. Elbel, my wife, is going to have a panic attack when this comes down to it because she's always talking to me about brevity. So we're gonna give this a shot and see what happens. But I've got some good content, and I hope you enjoy it. And please give me some feedback. And we're gonna do what most people never do, but most people don't have someone so pretty. Guys, here's Elbel, who's been holding the camera and is the videographer today. Elbel, you got anything to say? Brevity, guys.
Shorten it up a little bit.
Shorten it up a little bit. Yeah. All right.
Have a good day.
See ya.